Welcome to Your Moment with Miguel Ramirez.
Hello, and welcome to Your Moment. My name is Miguel Ramirez, and on today's episode, it's a continued discussion on the opioid epidemic with Yvonne Marquez. She shares about her personal story involving a pain management clinic. She also talks about the stigma around admitting being addicted to drugs. And she also talks about ways somebody can develop a support system when finding themselves in that situation. Just to preface this interview, this was pre-election, so she does give a reference to somebody who used to be president. My interview with Yvonne Marquez.
Well, like I shared earlier, it's affected me directly. It's something that I was ashamed of for a long time, certainly while I was going through it. When I was going through it, I was so alone. The people that I was close to saw what was happening to me while I didn't. And unfortunately, nobody really said much about it.
Nobody said much.
No. And I don't think that I'm alone in that. Mm-hmm. I think people saw it, but I wasn't going out and like trying to score heroin. I hadn't turned into this evil drug addict, or I wasn't, and I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to. I was seeing the same doctor and I was going to the same pharmacy. I did everything they told me to do, and my body still reacted the way everybody's body does and became addicted to them. I honestly don't know what people thought, but it was when I realized it, when I had an experience with the pain management doctor where the day after my birthday, somebody stole my purse out of my truck. My daughter and I were at the park, and somebody stole my purse, and it had my medication in it, and I had just refilled it. And so again, I did everything right. I called the cops. They came and they took a report. I went to the pain management doctor and I said, hey, this is what happened. I need medication. And they said no. I was going to have to be without all of my medication for an entire month while in the throes of pain, and then having to go like cold turkey without this medication, and that they were just willing to do that. And oh my God, they kicked me out of the office, and it was the most embarrassing thing. It was horrific.
They had to kick you out of the office.
Yeah, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just asking them to explain to me what I was supposed to do. They were aware. They knew what was going on with me, but I didn't. I just knew that I was going to be in a lot of pain, and I had a kid to take care of. And that's later on that night when I started thinking about that clinic and how long I had been there and what had happened. And that's when things started to connect with me. And luckily, my surgery was scheduled for the next month. So that was the last time I ever had to go to that clinic. So yeah, I started seeing my neurosurgeon, and he said 2 months after your surgery, you're done. Like, you're not taking pain medication anymore. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Let's see if you could really fix my back, dude. Because I couldn't believe it, because I had been in such severe pain for so long. I mean, I could barely I don't know how I got through that period of my life. I really don't.
When you talked about how your body depended on it for so much, would you notice things in terms of your habits or things that you would naturally do that were uncharacteristic of you, if you felt like, you, in terms of physically, emotionally, you felt
oh my God. Yeah. Oh yeah. I felt I was a totally different person. I was so mean. I was very mean to people around me, and I did stuff that I wouldn't, they're just not in my personality. And I just completely isolated myself because I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. And the worst part was feeling like nobody believed me. And that started with that doctor who kicked me out of his office. And then it happened again at the emergency room. I had no idea. Like, I was in pain. I was in like elevated pain. And this doctor treated me like I was there just to score more pain medication. And you just try to explain. No. And they just don't believe you. And it's horrible. And if it happened to me, it could happen to anybody. Like, I was, a 30-year-old white lady from nowhere. It could happen to anybody. It's horrible. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand it. I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I think when you're on medication for that long, they just see it as you're an addict, and maybe people don't want to address it like that because you're not doing heroin. You're not this strung out junkie, and you are in pain, and they know that you're in pain. So I think people don't know what to do. I feel like if you know somebody who's going through this, be their support system. And sometimes you have to have harsh truths, and sometimes you have to tell somebody, hey, dude, you might be addicted to this medication. Here are signs. And be supportive and loving. Don't treat people like they want to do this. Nobody asks for this. Nobody asks for that. And again, you said, how has this affected me personally? One of my best friends from childhood died last Wednesday from a fentanyl overdose in Kentucky, which the last time I checked had the third highest opioid deaths in the country. So something's going on with those doctors, I believe. People don't just start doing heroin, not on that level. The addiction starts somewhere. And I don't, there needs to be some sort of nationwide, and Trump just ignoring the problem and footing around it. And I wish I knew the exact term that he declared it national something, but it has an allocated budget of $57,000 per year. With 55,000 deaths in 2016 alone, I mean, that's a buck and some change. And that's, again, just for the deaths. That's going to do absolutely nothing to fight this problem. And I guess at this point, we have to take care of each other. That's the only way it's going to, awareness. People really need to be aware and be educated on what this is and how easy people can fall victim to it.
In general, about opioids, what would you say is a good resource for someone to go to?
That's a good question. I would say start with your doctor, but oftentimes that's a problem. I would say definitely start with your primary care doctor, and certainly a psychologist if you feel like have questions about it, or maybe have struggled with addiction, or have people in your family that have struggled with addiction, or maybe know yourself well enough to say, hey, before I start taking this medication, what can I do? Are there other options for me? If I do have to take this medication for pain, what are some coping mechanisms to make sure that I don't become completely dependent on it? There needs to be somebody else, like I was saying with the social worker. There has to be a second check and balance. There has to be somebody who views this in a more humanistic way, other than just prescribing pills to treat a problem. There's a person behind there going through very real things. It's very alarming. It's very alarming. And, like I said earlier, I felt shame because it's embarrassing, but it shouldn't be. And even then, I was in a room full of people, and and they threatened to call the police if I didn't leave. And I was humiliated.
And you were talking calmly, reasonably.
Yes, absolutely.
And they threatened to call the police on you. This is
oh my God. And I was in so much shock afterward. I mean, I wasn't screaming. I wasn't demanding anything. I was looking for answers. My favorite part of this story, too, is I was supposed to have an appointment after that, like the next month, and they didn't cancel it. And like 3 months later, I got a collection notice because I failed to cancel the appointment. I had like a no-show fee, and they sent it to a collection agency.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after kicking you out and still having the appointment, we're going to get our money.
Yep. But talking about it, stop. It's nothing to be ashamed about. If you're going through it, somebody else is going through it. This is a problem. It is a huge problem, and we're not talking about it like we should be. These aren't bad people. They're people who are in pain, people who are going through things, and find out the source of your pain. If it's physical, get it fixed. If it can't be fixed, find out other ways to treat it. If you're abusing these drugs because of reasons like depression or anxiety, or you're using it to help kind of cope with other things, figure that pain out. Get to the root of that. Because that's usually what causes addiction, is people self-medicate because they want to feel better. I mean, there's other ways, and there's ways to get healthy that don't involve these medications. And seek out the people that love you. No one's going to judge you. There's people who want to help you. Please get help.
Well, that's going to conclude today's episode. I'd like to thank Yvonne Marquez for stopping by and say congratulations. When I had first introduced her, I had stated Yvonne Chamberlain. She had since got married, so congratulations. And I want to say, for anyone experiencing any type of substance abuse, possible addictive circumstances, whatever the situation may be, always try to look for a support system. If it's finding resources, hotline numbers, contacting friends or family, having that support system is really important when dealing with matters of addictive substances. I want to thank you for listening and have a great week.
Stay up to date with news, interviews, and upcoming show episodes by following Your Moment with Miguel Ramirez on Spreaker.com.